I need it! I need it! Let's go! The guy!
Turks, Cenk Annika Sparing with you guys. So look, there's a lot of fascinating things afoot. So the first story about Marjorie Taylor Greene flipping on an economic issue is unprecedented.
Is she the new mommy?
No. Okay.
Okay, guys, I'm half asleep right now because I flew in from New York this morning. Didn't get much sleep last night. So if I say crazy things, please don't hold it against me.
Okay, so well, that goes for the entirety of the Young Turks for the last 20 years. Okay, so but I think, look, guys, I'm gonna hit you with a lot of hope tonight. Okay,
oh, come on.
So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna hit you with hope, then later I'm gonna hit you with joy. Okay, then see how you like it. So I'm in a mood for bold predictions and bold actions.
When are you not, Cenk? When are you not?
No. It's some dark days, but and the story on Venezuela. There's so many amazing stories in today's show, but the story on Venezuela has my favorite line because it's such a hilarious line that actually reveals what we're actually doing. So I don't want you to miss that. So lots to get to, Casper.
Well, we start with Marjorie Taylor Greene. This story is, I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty shocking. So let's give you the details. Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has shocked the world with a statement about wanting to do what Democrats want to do in Congress. So what I'm referring to is the effort by congressional Democrats to extend the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. Without those subsidies, without the extension of those subsidies, premiums for many Americans are set to double. And shockingly, and I say shockingly because this is uncharacteristic of Marjorie Taylor Greene is worried about that and wants to do something about it. Cenk.
Guys, this is a huge story. Real populism might have started today. Because this is not about Epstein files. She agreed with Democrats before on that. We're getting some tiny amount of agreement on Israel. Said this is on economic issues. She's defending Obamacare.
No, she's not defending Obamacare.
No, in a sense she is. She is. No. So we're gonna give you all the details. So you're gonna see, oh, she takes shots at this and that. There's plenty we don't agree on. But the very core of it is her agreeing with Democrats on making sure that Obamacare is not messed with by the Republicans. So but the why is the most important part. So let's tell you what she's doing, and then I'll tell you why I'm so excited about it.
Okay, I'm gonna be on my best behavior and give you guys accurate and measured information.
Oh, come on.
And so when Cenk does the thing that Cenk likes to do, which is exaggerate the optimism, I'm not saying discount that, but just try to balance it with me. Okay.
No, yeah, but just real quick, Anna. Look, she's gonna give you the facts. That's what we always do on the Young Turks. And then I'm gonna interpret those facts, and then you're gonna agree or disagree. So let's have fun.
Fair enough. So let's start with the fact that Congresswoman Greene did state that she is not a fan of the Affordable Care Act. In fact, she wrote, I was not in Congress when all this Obamacare, Affordable Care Act BS started. I got here in 2021. As a matter of fact, the ACA made health insurance unaffordable for my family after it was passed, with skyrocketing premiums higher than our house payment. Now look, for some that might seem like an exaggeration, but that is actually an experience that I've heard repeated by many people, including some of my close friends who went into the health insurance exchange and realized, oh my God, I'm actually gonna end up paying more for health insurance than I previously was.
Sorry, I'm gonna interrupt for a second.
Oh my God.
But there's a reason why. I just wanna explain to people before we brush past that. It's an aside, but Part of the reason was because pre-existing conditions were not covered before. So once you cover people with pre-existing conditions, which is almost everybody, yeah, your premiums go up a little bit. There's still plenty of things wrong with Obamacare, like the mandate and basing it on private insurance. But understand that's why that phenomena happened.
So she says, let's just say as nicely as possible, I'm not a fan. And you know what, fair enough, okay? And there are flaws with the Affordable Care Act. We've talked about them in detail on this show before. There were also wonderful parts of the Affordable Care Act, including the fact that people's children can stay on their health insurance plans up until the age of 26. You can't get rejected for a pre-existing condition. But the fact that there weren't adequate price controls baked into the Affordable Care Act, the fact that there was no public option, those are some of the big flaws, and she's referring to that in her statement. She also made it very clear that she does not want any federal money to go to healthcare for undocumented immigrants, writing that in all caps, no funding for illegals and any benefits for them. So she's very clear on that. And she added one more caveat before she talked about the importance of extending the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. She said, also, I think health insurance and all insurance is a scam. Just be clear.
No, that's ridiculous. There's of course a reason for insurance.
Well, no, hold on. I don't think the concept of health insurance is a scam. I think the way our health insurance programs are set up happen to be a scam.
Yes, so that's why as we get into the interpretation in a second here, you'll see like this is way more nuanced than you think it is. So if she means we shouldn't have any insurance of any sort, that's insane. If she means our current system sucks, which I think you're right is what she means,
yeah.
Then she's right.
Yeah, okay. So despite all her hangups, Congresswoman Green stated that young Americans are facing some pretty enormous financial pressures. And if these subsidies expire, and they are set to expire, the problem will only get worse. She says, I'm going to go against everyone on this issue because when the tax credits expire this year, my own adult children's insurance premiums for 2026 are going to double, along with all the wonderful families and hardworking people in my district. Okay, I'm gonna pause and comment on that because it kind of reminds me of what eventually led to widespread acceptance of gay people and gay marriage. It was the fact that people were coming out to their families as gay, and that helped to humanize the gay community. In this particular case, our broken healthcare system is obviously personally affecting Marjorie Taylor Greene. Honestly, this made me think about Tucker Carlson as well, because while some might argue, oh, his economic populism is all fake, I actually don't think that's the case. He's got a ton of kids, and his kids can't afford to buy a home, even though he himself grew up, very affluent and all of that. The fact that his own children are having difficulty, hitting the milestones that his generation easily hit is part of the reason why he feels motivated to talk about our broken, economy and how we need to do something about it. Now, Green also referred to one of her signature policy positions, no more money for foreign wars, which I am 100% in favor of. She says our country spent $30 billion or sent $30 billion to Israel in 2024 alone, killing countless innocent children, and sent hundreds of billions to Ukraine in the past few years. All our country does is fund foreign countries and foreign wars and never does anything to help the American people. Hear, hear. And she also called out Republican leadership, meaning members of her own party, for failing to have a plan in place when it comes to helping Americans out after those Affordable Care Act subsidies expire. She says not a single Republican in leadership talked to us about this or has given us a plan to help Americans deal with their health insurance premiums doubling. And she even took it a step further, everyone. Okay, she said that not both, but she says that health, auto, and home insurance have all become unaffordable. And she seems like she wants to do something about it. Luckily, there is a congressman on the other side of the political aisle, Ro Khanna, who is willing to work with her. And to her credit, she has said that she's willing to work with anyone to find solutions to these very real affordability issues. Ro Khanna says, yes, unaffordability is the issue, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's do something bipartisan to bring cost of living down. So look, that does give me a little bit of hope, because for the first time, probably in my adult life, I'm seeing a real, genuine effort of members of Congress across the political spectrum attempting to find solutions to problems that we've been dealing with for decades in this country. Let's see if it actually comes to fruition, because we still have many partisan-brained, self-interested narcissists in Congress. That's why Congress has such a low approval rating. But who knows, maybe this could actually spark a new era in America where our public servants actually behave as public servants. We'll see.
Yeah, here comes a nuclear blast of hope.
Okay, come on.
So first, to Anna's points, the overall healthcare system is a debacle. Every other developed nation has universal healthcare. They don't let people die in the streets because they couldn't afford insurance. And they find it unconscionable. They can't believe that America has a system this bad, especially when we're the richest nation on earth, right? So Nina Turner responded to Marjorie Taylor Greene and said, "You're right, the whole thing's a mess. We should actually get universal health care." Correct. Ro Khanna responds. Now look at this. Anna's also right about this. 98% of Congress is a wasteland, just owned completely by the donors. But now, all of a sudden, a couple of champions have popped up on the left and the right, okay? So Tom Massey's championing real conservatives on the right and saying, no, we said America first, we meant America first. Ro Khanna is just introducing every relevant bill in Congress, reaching out exactly when he should, etc. He's been an unbelievable leader from the left, and he's saying the same thing. This is about real people and their actual problems, which is affordability, right? So now, why is Marjorie Taylor Greene in this group? Because historically, she's been a huge warrior. I've been a huge warrior on the left and she's on the right, right? So why are we beginning to find common ground in ways that are totally unexpected, even on economic issues, right? Number one, the power of the donor class has diminished with some Congress people. The reason why 98% are still corrupt is because they're totally hooked, like with an IV to the donor class. Like, oh yeah, oh big pharma, hit me again, big pharma, right? Oh, big insurance, oh yeah, hit me again. I'm mixing a lot of drug analogies. Anyways, big pharma should appreciate that. But now the folks who are beginning to wean themselves off of the corporate cash, Ro Khanna has forever been free of corporate PAC money. That's why he's always been one of the leading figures fighting for what's right and fighting for the people. So that's development number one. Now some Republicans and more Democrats are getting off of corporate PAC money and foreign government PAC money. Huge development. Number two, Fox News's power has diminished. Before, Fox News and mainstream media, but Fox News is for the mainstream media of the right, had an assembly line of talking points. And that's all anybody ever heard them and Rush Limbaugh. And they would always say the same thing. And so every time I talked to a right winger, it would be a conveyor belt of the same exact predictable talking points. Now Fox News is less important. There's a whole range of opinions on the right now on a number of issues. Later in the show, we're gonna talk about Israel and how there's this giant rift on that, right? Why? Because the shows don't all have to serve Rupert Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch, for whatever reason, is insanely pro-Israel as an example, but also massively pro-big business. He is big business, right? So the talking points are big business is great, corporate rule is the best. You better say that, otherwise we're gonna say you're gay. Whatever, right? This is the kind of weirdo things they do, and they start the culture wars. But since they're not controlling right-wing voters anymore, right-wing politicians are now more untethered from them. And finally, the real world effects, especially on economic issues, are inescapable, right? Maybe you don't know that your money is being sent to Israel, and it doesn't have a daily effect on your life, right? And I can say that about so many other issues. But when the premiums on your healthcare double, there's no way of BSing around that. So the corrupt politicians can go, oh yes, of course. And by the way, this is the policy of the entire Republican Party, minus Marjorie Taylor Greene at this point. And they can say, oh yeah, you're doubling your premiums is better. It's better if you give to big health insurance companies. You should have less money and the health insurance companies should have more money. Otherwise, you're a Marxist, Maoist, socialist, right? Well, that crap's not working anymore. So that is three huge phenomenon. And despite all that, we have just the tip of the iceberg, right?
Let me, okay. I want to be fair because that's not what Republicans argue, right? They don't argue your premiums are going to double and you're going to like it, right? No,
they don't. I literally think that's what they're arguing. So tell me.
Okay, well you're being unfair.
Okay,
and by the way, I disagree with the Republican argument, and I'm going to explain why. I'm going to give you their actual argument, and then I'm going to explain why I disagree with them. Yeah. They argue, no. The problem that we have in our health insurance system or healthcare system is that we are not allowing for real free market capitalism, right?
They're so full of crap. Okay, I'll explain why in a second.
Jake, just let me make my point. Come on, bro, seriously. Okay, so they argue like there isn't enough free market capitalism. But okay, let's look at the pharmaceutical companies. The argument here is if you just allow for competition to happen, competition will happen. Except that hasn't occurred in literally any other private industry in this country, including, by the way, our media industry is a good example of monopolizing and all of that. You look at the pharmaceutical industry. What happened with the EpiPen? Especially when Joe Manchin's daughter was the head of the pharmaceutical company producing the EpiPen. Well, when the patent was about to run out, and when Pfizer was developing its own generic version of the EpiPen, she hit up the CEO of Pfizer, this is well documented by the way, and colluded with him to prevent him from putting out their own generic version of the EpiPen, which would be obviously a lot cheaper, and said, here's what I'll do, I'm gonna increase the price of the EpiPen, and in lieu of a generic version, obviously Americans have no choice but to buy the expensive EpiPen brand name version, and I'll do some profit sharing with you. That's the kind of stuff that actually goes on. So unless you have, proper regulations in place, you actually enforce antitrust laws, and we already know that there are already huge issues with that because you have all these corrupt government officials coming in and doing favors for these corporations. This whole idea of the free market capitalism never actually works out the way that these Republicans say that it will work out.
No, then we agree. So
I know, we do agree. I'm just saying I want to give the actual argument they make instead of like mischaracterizing.
No, Anna, I'm not mischaracterizing it. I'm gonna break it down right now. So first of all, if we're talking about Republican politicians, not Republican voters, okay? Republican voters actually have to have their premiums doubled and they're not happy with it. They're like, oh, thank God for free market capitalism, because that's a lie. Republican politicians say, free market capitalism because they know that's what appeals to you. It's a talking point that sounds pleasant and good and all American, right? So we broke this down back in the day when they were trying to get rid of Obamacare. And they said, oh, but free market will lead to deregulation through the states. And then you look more into it. And what that means is it's a race to the bottom. So that would allow them to find one state that'll let them do anything they want without any regulations. And so then it'll seem like, oh, that's a cheaper plan. But then it doesn't cover anything. It brings back pre-existing condition bans. It brings back all the terrible things of a system that was even worse than it is today. So they're trying to trick you by calling it free market capitalism when it is no such thing at all. Those are the same politicians, now 99% of the Republican Party, but also like 80% of the Democratic Party, who say, oh, we should not negotiate drug prices. Well, there's nothing worse for a free market than not allowing negotiation.
Yeah, that's
that is
true.
The very opposite of a free market. So I just want you guys to understand that politicians use gimmicks and talking points and propaganda. So they could say free market, but the result of that in this case is it does double your premium. So the Republican politician is trying to get you to believe that doubling your premium is somehow great for you because of free market. Brother, you can use that word and that phrase, but it doesn't make it true. So that's why I'm saying we agree. Yes, technically they are claiming it's for free markets, but in reality it's not for free markets at all. It's to help their donors get richer and richer. And yes, your premium will double, that's a fact.
Okay, and then final thing I'll just say about this. Look, I am, along with Marjorie Taylor Greene apparently, in favor of extending the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act. But I want to be very clear about something. The fact that we need to subsidize the Affordable Care Act in order for it to be somewhat affordable for Americans is a problem. It's a big problem. That shows that the policy itself is so utterly flawed that we, the taxpayers, have to fund subsidies in order to help our fellow Americans afford their premiums. So look, I know that there are a lot of Democrats who watch this show. I can see that every time we do a video where we criticize Democrats, we lose subscribers. But you guys have to acknowledge this is a flawed program. Democrats promised, especially back in 2016, when Bernie Sanders, as a Democratic candidate in the Democratic primary, talked about his policy of Medicare for all you heard from all the corporate Democrats was, no, we can't do that. All we need to do is approve upon the Affordable Care Act. Have they done that? Have they even attempted to? What happened in the last election cycle? How many times did Kamala Harris talk about improving our healthcare system?
Yeah, so but Anna, let me apply the same principles to the Democratic Party that I was just talking about with the right wing. So when you say, sometimes when we criticize Democrats, we lose subscribers, et cetera, that's true. But why? We don't lose the core progressive or populist audience. They already know the corporate Democrats are a disaster and they work for the donor class, et cetera. They already know that Obamacare was actually written by the Heritage Foundation, the same people who wrote Project 2025, okay? So, but a lot of the old school establishment Democratic voters were bewitched, bedeviled, bamboozled by mainstream media, MSNBC, et cetera. Oh, Obamacare is the greatest thing in the world, but the problem is totally solved thanks to the wonderful Democratic leadership. And they never even point out every other country has universal health care, and by the way, on average, it costs half of what ours costs, half. Why wouldn't we want to get better coverage for half? But our biggest opponents when we go into that fight is not Fox News, it's MSNBC. Because they'll rally the troops. Oh no, bow your heads to Democratic leadership. But Anna, now that's breaking down too. It has finally begun to break down for the same exact reason. Those MSNBC viewers and voters and CNN guys are starting to come online. And yeah, they're going to some shows that are like, Democrats are gods, right? But a lot of them aren't. And then you see it in the polling. Yeah. When you ask about Democratic leadership, now Democratic voters go, I'm now also untethered. And I don't give a damn what you think. I care that my premium's doubling and you're not doing a damn thing about it. But in this case, to be fair, Democratic politicians are pushing to do something about it. It's a rare case where they are. I'll take it, I love it. I'm really glad Marjorie Taylor Greene joined. And lastly, guys, tomorrow night, because our paying members are wonderfully generous folks, they've decided, like if 3/4 of them said, don't make it just for members. Let's organize the internet, the bonus episode we normally do, make it public for everyone. Let's try to unite the left and the right and show you how to do a peaceful revolution and bring our democracy back. You know me, I'm a true believer. And I don't mind failing, but I'm gonna try, okay? So tomorrow night on the Young Turks at 8 o'clock Eastern, after the main show, 6 to 8 o'clock is the news show. At 8 o'clock, we try to crowdsource a revolution, organize the internet, and actually try to get our democracy back. So if you're hopeful like me, just even if a smidge of hope, you don't have to be as hopeful as me, just a smidge of hope, come and find out and let's try to do this together.
All right, Pam Bondi answering or refusing to answer questions in front of the Senate today. We'll give you the details on that and more when we come back.
All right, so let's go to our viewers, members. Jarv Jam Bongino says, I think Marge has been watching more and more TYT lately. Is she seeing the light?
Look, can I just say something about, I don't know if she watches TYT and I don't care.
I actually do know and she does, but okay. Not regularly, but from time to time, for sure.
But I just want to say this, people change, they can change their minds, they can grow, they can mature, and I welcome it. Instead of pointing to all the things that she said in the past that I hate, I'm gonna take the wins where I can get it. And
it's so easy.
It's so easy. Like, you know what? I really respect the fact that she's willing to go against her own party. For me, at this point, that's what I look for in leadership. In every environment I find myself in. Like when I do these CNN panels, I am shocked by how many people are just so partisan brained that on the same panel discussion, they will attack the other side of the aisle for doing something that they defend their own side for doing.
No, but Anna, that's the whole point of cable news.
I can't stand it. It's so boring. It's so dull. It's so incredibly lame. This is not a sporting event. This is people's lives.
Let me just say 2 quick things about that. Number one, that's why I was so shocked when I went on independent and right-wing shows starting about 2 years ago. And I'm like, wait a minute, they're not doing the standard talking points because I'm used to the cable news world you're describing. I don't care what reality is. I will defend the Democratic position, the Republican position, even if I'm the world's biggest hypocrites, and it's super obvious, right? Yep. They're just robots. They're all robots, and they're meant to divide us. So, but I started seeing, no, these independent shows don't get the same talking points. So they could be wrong, they could be terribly wrong on a host of issues, but we're in a new world now, right? And by the way, that's also why you stand out, because when you make points that are logical on both sides, as you did it last night, it was on the issue of, hey, we want lower crime, but we don't want
the ICE raids, right? And so, like, I'm sorry, what happened in Chicago? I didn't get an opportunity to talk about that story. Why are we zip tying and detaining children, American children? You don't need to do that. Okay, this false choice of either you just let like undocumented immigrants who are in gangs commit whatever crime they want and terrorize American children in this apartment building, or you just detain everybody in the building, even if they're American citizens, including the children. No, that's a false choice. That is a false choice.
Anna, you guys got to watch her on CNN when she goes on, because it's so obviously different than everyone else. People are like because what you said, 90% of Americans agree with.
No, I know
but
that.
You'll never get it on cable news.
I know.
One side will say zip tying American children is awesome, and what the Americans want. And the other side will be like, there's no crime, there's no gangs. There's no nothing.
If you're a Trump supporter, can you at least understand that it's making your guy less popular when you defend him terrorizing American citizens who have done nothing wrong?
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
Ben Jamin says, accurate info, yes please. Best behavior, no thanks. Michael Nabin says, Anna's meticulous adherence to truth and Cenk's exaggeration of optimism is why I'm a member. That's awesome. And Dr. Gonzo speaks for a lot of people who says, OMG, Anna, that sweater is on fire, girl.
Thank you.
We'll be back. All right, back on TYT, Cenk, Anna, Veronica Torriquez, Salah Aldin Yeager just joined. You guys are awesome. And Eddie Jameson upgraded through the join button. You could do that.
I have a controversial opinion.
Uh-oh.
The name Veronica is hot.
That's what I was gonna say.
Right?
Yes.
And Vanessa.
Yes, that's what I was. I'm the king of saying Veronica and Vanessa are hot names.
You see?
No, I'm sorry, but it's just true. Those are by clearly the two hottest names, Vanessa and Veronica.
Yeah.
Sorry to everyone else.
Sorry.
Okay, but now we got Veronica on our side, so we're gold. Okay.
All right, let's get to a pretty spicy hearing that took place today.
Attorney General Bondi, why did you publicly claim to have the Epstein client list waiting for your review and then produce nothing relevant to that claim?
Senator Durbin, if you listen to my entire clip on that, I said I had not reviewed it yet, that it was sitting on my desk. Our memo on Epstein clearly points out that there was no client list, our July 6th memo. And, Senator Durbin, I find it very interesting that you refused repeated Republican requests to release the Epstein flight logs in 2023 and 2024.
That's true. That's true. What Pam Bondi said there at the very end is absolutely true, but let's keep it real. The United States Attorney General continues to be haunted by the fact that she is part of a massive Epstein files cover-up. And she had to contend with that fact today during a hearing before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Now, questions about the Epstein files in particular made her real defensive. So Senator Dick Durbin, who you just heard from in that clip, questioned Bondi about reports back in July suggesting that FBI personnel were instructed to flag any records in the Epstein files that happened to mention President Donald Trump. Bondi responded the way someone part of a cover-up would respond. Let's take a look.
Who gave the order to flag records related to President Trump?
To flag records for President Trump?
To flag any records which included his name.
I'm not going to discuss anything about that with you, Senator.
Eventually, you're going to have to answer for your conduct in this. You won't do it today, but eventually you will. I yield, Mr. Chairman.
And her refusal to answer questions was the main theme of this Senate Judiciary hearing. So I have more clips, including her exchange with Sheldon Whitehouse and even some Republican senators. But before we get to that, Cenk.
Yeah, so two quick things about that. Dick Durbin's asking good questions, I appreciate it, but God, they're so soft, right? So she says, I will not answer that. I would have said, oh, okay, so you're covering it up. That makes sense, that's why I asked. Somebody's looking through the records, trying to cover up all of what Trump is doing. And you're the person responsible, so I'm asking you, and you're saying that you're going to further cover that up. Okay, duly noted for the American people.
I know, but you're awake. I mean, know. Senator Dick Durbin looks like he's half asleep.
Yeah, that's because they're all like 98 anyways. But good questions. And then she says throughout, oh yeah, how about Reid Hoffman, who's a Democratic donor, huh? And how about the flight logs? Right back at you, sister. You said there was no Epstein clients. So why are you talking about Reid Hoffman? Why are you talking about the flight logs? If there was no clients, why are the flight logs relevant? Because I think there are clients, I think they are Democrats and Republicans, and I think you're covering it up.
100%.
So it's kind of ironic when you go, look at the flight logs and Reid Hoffman, and look at all these Democratic clients that don't exist. Okay, gotcha.
So Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, another Democratic senator, also grilled Attorney General Pam Bondi, specifically in regard to the hundreds of suspicious activity reports, also known as SARS, related to Jeffrey Epstein's bank accounts, which of course were sent over to the DOJ. Once again, even in this line of questioning, she appeared to get a little defensive.
How many of those Treasury SARS did you or Director Patel investigate?
Senator, I'm not sure if you're concerned because you took money, I believe, did you, from Reid Hoffman, one of Epstein's closest confidants, not only once, but twice in 2018 and 2024, if that's correct. But Senator, did you ask Merrick Garland any of this over the last 4 years when he sat before you? This investigation has been going on. This investigation was closed. Did you ask Alex Acosta that?
And Patel came to office, you said you would look into this. There were hundreds of suspicious activity reports. Some people would deduce from the fact that they are called suspicious activity reports that there might be suspicious activity. And yet you seem to have looked at zero of those suspicious activity reports involving Jeffrey Epstein accounts.
While I have no love for Merrick Garland, just keeping it 100, Merrick Garland didn't spend months dangling the Epstein files above voters and just trying to entice people with the potential release or the impending release of the Epstein files. Pam Bondi, though, that's a completely different story. Kash Patel, though, that's a completely different story. They were the ones who were enticing Republican voters with the possible release of the Epstein files should they have these positions of power. Now they find themselves in these positions of power, and what are they doing? Okay, what are they doing? Embarrassing themselves in these hearings? And by the way, I can't stand the partisan brain nonsense. Oh, but what about the Democrats? They didn't release it. Okay, yeah, you're right, they didn't release it. Two wrongs don't make a right. You now find yourself in this position of power. Why are you part of a cover-up?
Yeah, so I was gonna quote one of our members, Embedded Dude on TYT.com, who said pretty much the same thing. We don't have to release the files because Biden didn't release them, so there, case closed. No, if Biden was wrong for not releasing the files, logic would indicate you should release the files even more, not less. So you see how wrong Biden was for not releasing the files. So that's why we're doing the same exact thing. What? And did you notice who she blamed there? Why didn't you ask Alex Acosta?
I would love to have an interview with Alex Acosta.
I would too. Oh wait, who was Alex Acosta labor secretary for? Oh right, President Trump. Why don't you ask Alex Acosta?
Well, there's more from White House because later in this hearing, he brought up some of the alleged photographs featuring President Donald Trump. He wasn't president at the time, of course, but Trump, photos of Trump in Epstein's possession. Take a look at that.
There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
If we're gonna play this game, Howard Lutnick was Epstein's next door neighbor and apparently had a nice cozy relationship with Epstein as well. This is such a nonsense way of handling a situation in which a man, along with his disgusting groomer, recruiter girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, who Trump was asked about pardoning again yesterday, and he's like, I have to look at it. You have to look at it? You have to look at it? You have to look at it. You already moved her to like the Club Med of prisons.
You know what's amazing?
These people are so disgusting.
Even Laura Loomer's like, bro.
Don't even bring up that disgusting hag.
No, I know, but like she's like, don't move, like don't pardon her. And she's like, you'll blow our cover. Okay, she didn't add that part. I'm interpreting that. Notice another Reid Hoffman reference. I thought there were no clients, Pam. Okay.
Who cares? I'll Reid Hoffman too. I don't care.
We don't care at all.
I want justice. I want to know how many pedophiles are running the government. I want to know how many powerful people who happen to be, I don't know, judges actually end up to be disgusting perverts who probably shouldn't be in that position of power. That's what I want to know. That's what I want to know.
But in essence, she's saying, I'm not just covering up Republicans who are on Epstein's list. I'm also covering up Democrats who are on Epstein's list. You must be so proud,
No
Pam.
one asked for it.
Yeah, well.
The perverts probably did.
There is one organization that asked for it. Anyways, you mentioned the Howard Lutnick. Interestingly, a twist, video B5 here, Senator John Kennedy, a Republican, also asked about Lutnick. Let's watch.
Commerce Secretary Lutnick goes on to say, quote, that's what his MO was. You know, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume, was a video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever, blackmailed people. That's how he had money, end quote. Is that true?
Senator, as our July memo said, we did not uncover evidence. This case has gone through 3 administrations, as well as former U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta.
I know that, Pam. But have you interviewed Secretary Lutnick?
No, Senator.
Do you plan to?
If he wants to talk to the FBI or the FBI wants to talk to him, that is more than on.
Don't you think you ought to talk to him after this interview?
Senator, if Howard Lutnick wants to speak to the FBI and if Director Patel wants to speak to Howard Lutnick, absolutely.
Okay. Maybe we ought to get Mr. Lutnick in here too, Mr. Chairman.
Oh God, Pam Bondi disgusts me. Absolutely freaking disgusts me. You're a woman and you are providing cover for one of the most well-known and widespread perverts, pedophiles, sexual predators on the planet. And oh God, These people disgust me, all of them, all of the people who are part of this cover up, Democrat, Republican, I don't care. They are not fit to serve this country in any capacity.
So she said over and over again, you saw it in that clip too. This case has gone through 3 different administrations. Yes, Pam, but who's in charge now? Okay, if you want to blame the other administrations, great. Sign me up, okay? But they're not here anymore, you are. So what you're actually saying is, I agree with the previous administrations who covered it up, and I'm covering it up along with them. That's not the win you think it is.
I would like to go to the final video here because, usually when you're cornered, usually when you don't have any real answers or any way of defending yourself, you lash out and start attacking people. And that's what our Attorney General did during this hearing. Take a look.
Senator, I would be more concerned if I were you when you talk about corruption and money that when you pushed for legislation that would subsidize your wife's company. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. You're sitting here grilling me and they're on their way to Chicago to keep your state safe.
Madam Attorney General, it's my job to grill you.
Did you take money from Reid Hoffman, campaign donations,
Never
who was
heard
a
of
huge Epstein friend?
What became of the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee?
Yeah, Senator Whitehouse, to correct you for one moment, that would be the Honorable Judge Emil J. Bovee III to you. I'm not going to be lectured to you about integrity
another topic,
by
and I'm hoping
someone
that you will review
who
these
lied about
legislative
being in the military just to be
support
elected
them.
a senator.
Hurt dogs holler. That's my final word on that.
My final word on that is, if you're gonna mention Reid Hoffman about 28 times, why don't you investigate him? I mean, he's a Democrat, you hate him, you've brought it up 100 times. You tell me that there are no Epstein clients, but then you seem to be implying very heavily that Reid Hoffman is one.
Yep.
Good news, you're the Attorney General. And you're a Democrat, so there would be, he's a Democrat and a big Democratic donor, and you're a Republican, so there would be no downside for you, right, Pam? Isn't it super weird that you're not even investigating him? And of course, the reason she's not is because she's not investigating anyone. And she's never going to, because she doesn't work for us. She works for whoever organized the Epstein saga. I know no one organized it, no one participated, there were no clients. And we're supposed to believe this? Nah, everybody's getting caught. It's a whole new day in America. You could try this BS for the rest of your life. But every time she goes out there to speak, people not forget the left and independents. We already were clear on Pam Bondi. More and more MAGA despises her.
How could you not? I mean, she's obviously part of a cover up. She's not even good at defending herself during this hearing. It's just very clear. It's clear as day. So you literally have to be so in the bag for the Trump administration to just completely ignore what's slapping you right in the face with this hearing.
Yeah, super last thing. If you're MAGA and you're disgusted by her obvious cover up, you should get to know Pam Bondi. How did she even get into that position? When she was Attorney General in Florida, taking campaign contributions and then dropping criminal cases was Pam Bondi 101. She works completely for the donors. In fact, she was gonna do an investigation of Donald Trump's charity. Trump donated to her, she immediately dropped the case. But it's not just about Trump. There's a million stories just like that. Pam Bondi isn't the Attorney General despite corruption. She's the Attorney General because of corruption, because she's so wedded to corruption.
All right, when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about this huge revelation from Candace Owens in regard to where Charlie Kirk's headspace was at prior to his assassination. And then later in the show, we'll talk about how we are gonna go to war with Venezuela. It is insane. So stick around, we'll be right back.
Back on TOT. Let's go to Super Chat. Writer Dragon says, Bondi sees Trump as her client, not the people, obviously. Good point. Don Savage says, did Bondi have the questions ahead of time and just reads prepared answers? No, what she did was she prepared for every senator and So with Blumenthal, she knows that he had a controversy from like 12 years ago about his military record, so she brings that out. Dick Durbin and White House might have gotten money from Reid Hoffman, so she brings that talking point out. But one thing she did do right that I've been telling witnesses into the abyss, nobody ever listened, on the Democratic side or the left-wing side. You don't have to just sit there and take it when the Republican senators abuse you when you're a witness. You could fight back, you have a microphone. But they were always taught, bow, bow, don't ever say anything impolite to the Democratic senators. And now the Republican witnesses are like, oh yeah, you jerk off, how about you and Reid Hoffman, huh? And is the world melting? No, she's actually getting talking points across on TV. I mean, she's absurd, so it's being counterproductive, but if you did it right, that would be very effective. Crusader of Cuddles comes in, again, wonderfully generous, says exactly 2 years the day Israel's moral army myth collapsed. 2 years on, the world sees the reality of occupation, systemic oppression, and human rights violations. Resistance is justified. Palestine's fight for justice will never be silenced, and also US freaks in DC defies human rights. Okay, so that's his opinion. My opinion is October 7th was terrible, and the 70 October 7ths that Israel has done in Gaza are 70 times as bad. If you say no, you should only condemn what happened on October 7th, but you should not condemn what Israel has done in the 2 years since then.
A lot of people think that.
And they do. They think 70 times as many Palestinian civilians dead. Who cares? They're subhuman. That is the implication from everyone in mainstream media who says October 7th is so important. I agree with you, brother. You should have seen us 2 years. We're 2 years later. You just got all of you guys in news are still pretending this is about self-defense. Come on. Come on. Oh, there you are in the tank. Huh, interesting. Anyway, Deb Long says, but today, guys, yes, October 7th was super painful for Israel, and those civilians should have never been killed. And so two wrongs don't make a right in both directions. Deb Long says, I'm so lucky to live in Canada. 2 years ago, I had a tumor removed from my head and thyroid cancer. I was off work for 6 months. Not only did it cost me $0.00, my government also covered me for 60% of my wages.
Man, get off of work for 6 months.
Okay, no, don't do it. Okay, but so listen, man, you have no idea how much our politicians abuse us. Look at that story from Canada. They're so much better off in Canada. Our politicians are utter crooks. They don't get hired, despite the fact that they're crooks, they get hired to be crooks. So thanks for writing in depth. Titan writes, and Anna loved you on CNN as always. Wish they would tell people it isn't their show and allow others to speak. It's insane how they're just allowed to filibuster.
Yeah, that annoys me, as you guys can probably tell.
Yeah. Smarty Jones just writes in with an American flag. There you go, Smarty, America, okay?
Proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free.
Well, we thought, but anyway, we'll get it back.
I know.
Gabe's World says, I've always been on the right, more in the middle now. Against sending funds to the Bibi, but I love both Anna and Cenk. Cenk makes me laugh.
We love you too.
Yes, thank you, Gabe's World. Back on TYT, Cenk, Anna, a number of American heroes, Gendigio and Talihia, which is also a really cool name, just hit the join button below, became American heroes. We appreciate you so much. You allow us to do what we do here, so thank you for being our boss. And TJ Gersoweski upgraded through the join button. Okay, TJ, American hero, and then some. Love you guys. Casper.
Candace Owens, man. She's going nuts and I'm into it. Let's get into it.
I have been feeling as though these pastors are just not as honest as they should be. So many people were racing to establish that his legacy was anything but Catholic, right? Like he was super de-duper Judeo-Christian. It registered to me like more of a cult. So Charlie's faith and what direction it was going into would actually matter right? It would actually matter if Charlie, and I never said he was going to, decided one day to become Catholic. It would have financial implications. So Charlie writes in this group chat, just lost another huge Jewish donor.
Candace Owens is at war with the very people that she believes are misrepresenting her late friend Charlie Kirk and what he was experiencing in the final months of his life. Now, let's begin with Charlie's religious beliefs, which I felt and thought were firmly in the evangelical camp. And as we all know, evangelicals drink the Judeo-Christian Kool-Aid, this whole idea of the importance of the modern nation state of Israel to their religion. Catholics do not, though. Catholics do not believe in this idea that there will be like a second coming of Christ, and through that second coming, those who have or who believe in Christ, those who believe in God, and those who have converted to believe in God will be saved, and everyone else, including the Jews, by the way, will perish. Okay. Apparently, Charlie Kirk was moving away from evangelicalism and moving toward Catholicism, which is what Candace Owens believes. She had made that claim before. Now, he didn't convert, she's clear about that, but he was kind of headed in that direction, and she had made that claim before. I thought it was a little sus because you need to see some evidence of that. There was nothing that he said outright or did publicly that made me think that there was anything to bolster the claim. But now she has the receipts. Take a look.
Was he becoming Catholic?
No, but he really loved Catholic Mass. He loved the ritual of it. He loved the beauty of old Catholic churches and the stained glass.
And him and Erica would go sometimes.
Yeah, well, Erica's a cradle Catholic. You can go check the videos out, him debating with Michael Knowles, in good fun. I mean, they were dear friends, but they loved kind of debating the whole Protestant versus Catholic thing.
So many people were racing to establish that his legacy was anything but Catholic, right? Like he was super de-duper Judeo-Christian. And ironically, it was Judeo-Christianity that I was challenging him on personally, like privately. And I was speaking to him about the political pressures of it, the way that I felt because of last year, that it registered to me like more of a cult than a true theology or a religion or a religious aspect rather. And it was back in February of this year when out of nowhere, he's the one that actually messaged me and said, and said Catholicism is sounding better and better in February of 2024. This is kind of when we started having that discussion. We should chat soon. Catholicism is looking better and better, okay?
We should chat soon. Catholicism is looking better and better. So she shares that text exchange with Charlie Kirk. Look, there is this interesting rift happening amongst Christians and Catholics in America right now, and it's over the idea of dispensationalism, which is what evangelicals believe. It's what you've talked about on the show before, Cenk, about why evangelicals find the nation state of Israel to be so important to their religion. But just based on what Candace Owens has been saying and some of the evidence that she showed in that text exchange, it does seem like Charlie Kirk was at least questioning some of his religious beliefs.
Yeah, so we're gonna get to a super relevant part of this in terms of Israel in a second, but a rabbi once told me, Judeo-Christian heritage, it's like we really could have used that in the 1940s, right? Meaning like, no, this thing's made up from like yesterday. And so who made it up and for what purpose? I mean, it's not such a bad thing. Jews and Christians getting along, I want that, that's wonderful, right? And if that's the direction they took the Judeo-Christian heritage that they made up a minute ago, great, wonderful. A new tradition that brings people together. That's not what they're using it for. They're using it for only one thing. Hence, you must bow your head to Israel. And now I am hearing from a lot of preachers and pastors, literally, okay, saying, I think we got hoodwinked. Right? Like, what is this? And then they starting to look and they're going, wait a minute, these books came out when, right? And who wrote these books and for what? They're not in the Bible. None of this stuff is in the Bible, right? So there's a great awakening happening at this time. And so meanwhile, everyone in power is like, shut up, stop reading the Bible. Go back to the books, okay? The books we gave you. The correct position is you must love the nation state of Israel. Where is Benjamin Netanyahu in the Bible? Is he in Leviticus? Is he in Luke? Where is Ben Gvir? Where's the Knesset? No, that's just, guys, I don't want to get into the history of where the Israelis came from. I'm not a religious person, so I don't really care. But what I do care about is people waking up to, oh, maybe this was not what we thought it was. Not people who were like trying to get you to love Jesus more and do good things in the world and love the Prince of Peace. Instead, it might be the Prince of War who they're asking you to back because you think the Prince of Peace wanted a genocide? Come on. So it's getting absurd. Now, Candace Owens, we're all supposed to condemn her because she said some absurd things. We're gonna get to that in a second and we'll see whether we condemn her or not, okay?
Yes, okay, so let's get to the biggest revelation from what she shared on her program yesterday, which was, well, how Charlie Kirk was actually feeling about the pressure he was receiving from pro-Israel Zionist donors to Turning Point USA, and how he felt about the notion of essentially cutting certain people from the conservative movement off and no longer being friends with them. Take a look.
So Charlie writes in this group chat, just lost another huge Jewish donor, 2 million a year because we won't cancel Tucker. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. Somebody writes, oh. Charlie writes, Jewish donors play into all of the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. Then somebody writes, a donor writes, please do not invite Candace. That might feel good short term, but it's not good long term. In my opinion, like all groups, you're going to get a wide variety of opinions. That nasty free will thing that God bestowed on us makes life frustrating at times after the dust settles a bit, maybe. So again, this is 48 hours before Charlie Kirk was assassinated. He was very clear and he was very explicit and he did not back down, not in that Hamptons meeting, which they're all lying about, nor in this text thread. I'm not going to reveal the names of the other 7. Actually, you know what? I disagree with myself 4 seconds ago. Let's just throw in Josh Hammer for funsies. He's on this chat, okay?
For those who are unfamiliar, Josh Hammer, I believe, was the guy who Dave Smith debated at Turning Point USA's event earlier this year on the issue, on the topic of Israel, of course. And the reference to the meeting in the Hamptons was the meeting in which basically Charlie Kirk, it's been kind of described as an intervention by Bill Ackman, who's a huge Israel supporter. Apparently, he took issue with the fact that Charlie Kirk had Dave Smith debate Josh Hammer and invited Tucker Carlson to give that speech in which Tucker Carlson talked about how Jeffrey Epstein very likely was a Mossad asset. So Israel not really loving that, and Israel supporters, huge donors to Turning Point USA, not huge fans of that. So that's why they call that intervention, to basically tell Charlie Kirk, like, you better toe the line.
And Bill Ackman's version of that story in the Hamptons is,
I don't believe him at all.
Okay, but it's totally different. He says it was kumbaya, they got together, he was barely involved, and they were just trying to help Charlie, etc. So we've given his side now, okay.
That's been my experience with Zionists here in the United States. They're actually very friendly and they just want to, politely make their case. They don't smear you as an anti-Semite.
Never.
They don't go after your family members and try to get them fired from their jobs. They don't bully. They don't act like thugs at all. At all. Go ahead, Jane.
Okay, so let's note for the record, interesting. There's donors who are giving $2 million a year for pro-Israel positions at a minimum. He had $100 million budget. That is unbelievable. And remember, that's not revenue. That's just people giving you money, okay? And so, and you know what? And now that we see the messages from behind the scenes, I gotta say, you gotta give Charlie a little bit of credit for having the courage to say, I mean, I don't know that he knew anything about what was coming, obviously not, right? So I'm not referring to that. Just having the courage to say, no, I don't want your $2 million. That's pretty admirable. okay? On the other hand, he was saying it in the first place and had a very pro-Israel stance for a very, very long time. So it's a mixed bag, mixed bag. Our job is honesty, okay? So now.
Hold on, I gotta just do one more video before you share your points, because some of you might be thinking, Anna, are you really gonna trust Candace Owens? They could be totally fabricated, meaning the text exchange. Well, it turns out that Charlie Kirk's producer, Andrew Kovic, has come out to talk about the veracity of these messages. Let's take a quick look at that.
Started this show to address some of the things that have been going around on public, namely about a group text chain that has been made known and released by Candace Owens. And I just want to address it head on because that was a text grab, a screen grab that I had shared with people. So it is authentic.
So there you have confirmation that the messages are not fabricated, they are real. Go ahead, Cenk.
Yeah, so look, Charlie in those messages says they're confirming the stereotypes, right? So now I disagree with that. I wanna make an important distinction. So the problem with stereotypes is that they're applied in a blanket way to everyone in that category, right? So for 99% of Jewish Americans, Jews, etc., Mossad's not calling them, Bill Ackman's not calling them, they're not part of any propaganda outlet, etc., right? They're just normal people going about their lives. But is there a group of folks who are pro-Israel Zionist zealots in this country who do bully, intimidate? And I think they're actually using the tropes as shields. They're thinking, I'm gonna go do that thing, but I can't be criticized for it, because if I'm criticized for it, I'll just say you're an anti-Semite and you're saying it about all Jews. So I'll use other Jews as human shields. And so I'll just do every one of the tropes because you're not allowed to criticize the tropes. Now, the other 99% aren't doing that at all. Okay, so don't take it out on them, right?
It's just the billionaires in America.
Yeah, but kinda.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Larry Ellison, Bill Ackman,
yeah,
et cetera.
It's the Ellisons snatching up, social media platforms, CBS, installing Barry Weiss as the editor-in-chief of CBS News. Are you kidding me right now? You think we don't see what's happening? You have David Ellison now making a play to buy CNN.
Yeah.
You probably didn't like Jeremy Diamond's reporting, did you? Anyway, it's disgusting. What's happening right now is so utterly disgusting and so brazen, but we're supposed to sit here and pretend like it's not happening. Oh, it's a trope. It's a trope to acknowledge that this is happening. Okay, great. I guess I'm repeating an accurate trope about billionaires in America violating the rights of Americans, the free speech rights of Americans, destroying our already super questionable media, news media. It's just pathetic.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's do the throat clearing so no one calls us bad names. They're gonna call us the bad names anyway, Cenk.
Yeah, 100%. But look, so last thing on that, and then we'll get back to the main thing. So I've talked a lot about my Jewish friends, family, etc. Your best friend's Jewish.
They don't care.
No, my point is, did Larry Ellison or Bill Ackman or Netanyahu call her and say, hey, are you okay with this?
Larry Ellison can tell me how my ass tastes, okay? How about that?
Yeah,
right, disgusting, weird Oracle founder going around talking about yes, we're gonna surveil everybody. Everyone will be on their best behavior. Yes, you're a freak, you're a total creep.
Okay.
All right, total creep.
So my point is, do not put Larry Ellison's actions on our friends.
No, I don't, because I'm not an idiot, okay? I don't conflate a nation state with an entire group of people who have no say in what's going on in Gaza, no say over what these disgusting billionaires in America are doing. No, I don't conflate the two because I'm not stupid and I'm not hateful.
That's exactly my point. So they want to treat everyone like they're idiots. Oh, if you say I'm doing something wrong, that means you're saying millions of Jews are doing something wrong. No, brother, we didn't say that. We said you're doing something wrong. Stop deflecting and saying, not me, them, attack random Jews. No, we're not gonna do it. I don't care what you say. So now, was Charlie going to leave the pro-Israel cause? I don't know, that's what the text says. And the text is authentic. So now you could say, okay, that happens 48 hours before the shooting and it's irrelevant, it's just a random coincidence. And that's perfectly fair. We don't know yet. the government says they have evidence on Tyler Robinson, et cetera, and then some people are questioning it. I'm not that expert. I don't know. And I know for the other people, right now they're already typing out anti-Semite, conspiracy theory. Brother, if you say to me, you must agree to the official government position, otherwise you're an anti-Semite and a conspiracy theorist. I don't give a damn, man. That stuff's not working at all anymore. You could tell me to bow my head to the government and the donor class that runs the government. I'm not gonna do it. I don't care how much you yell at me or smear me, and the entire internet doesn't care anymore.
I know.
You can kiss all of our asses.
I know people have a difficult time separating things, right? But let me just be very clear. Unless I see hard evidence tying Israel to Charlie Kirk's assassination, I am not for a second going to believe that Israel was behind it. Okay, there's plenty to criticize Israel on that we actually have evidence for, and assassinating Charlie Kirk is not one of those things. So put that aside. For me though, what I find super interesting is what is percolating right now with the conservative movement. Because the young conservatives who were followers of Turning Point USA, who were fans of Charlie Kirk, were consistently challenging him to his face on the topic of Israel. So he had to defend Israel knowing that young conservatives are not on board, and he needs to keep this coalition together, right? That's the whole reason why Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA exists. But at the same time, he's forced to defend the indefensible because of the Zionist donors who fund Turning Point USA. To me, that is a super interesting story, super interesting.
I mean, there's also this thing though, they're like, you have to say Israel didn't do it. Do I also have to say Afghanistan didn't do it and Paraguay didn't do it? Why is that a requirement? What a weird requirement.
Well, look.
Let's have the trial. Let's figure it out.
Let's also acknowledge the reason why you don't have to say that about Afghanistan or any other country is because right now the public perception of Israel is in the garbage. Let's just keep it real. The fact that there's so many Americans who literally just believe straight out or straight up that Israel assassinated Charlie Kirk.
Whoa, tons.
And that's not good for Israel. So for Israeli civilians, Israeli citizens, check your government because your government is destroying your country.
Yeah, Anna, it's okay. They're gonna fix all that with tatas for Israel. Oh, hey, I love Israel. Okay, we covered that yesterday. $7,000 a pop. Okay, now the most important part. Look, folks say, well, Candace Owens says that First Lady of France has a penis. So you have to denounce her and never believe a word she says. Okay, so if she says the sky is blue, do I have to say that it's green? If she says the grass is green, do I have to say it's purple? Like, do I have to hate vegetarians because Hitler was a vegetarian? Or can we use our own mind to go, I agree with her on that, I do not agree with her on that. In fact, I don't agree with her on this, and this, but hey, that's an interesting point on that. Nope, condemn her in entirety. But here, she's not, I don't care about her opinions, she's showing a text, an authenticated text from Charlie Kirk. You have to ignore it, otherwise you're an anti-Semite.
Well, we're not going to. We're not going to ignore it.
What a weird request.
Yeah.
What a weird thing to say. And no matter what happens, like, the answer is always you're an anti-Semite. Okay, no guys, we're super tired. Like, not even tired, we're now amused by it. Like, it's gotten to a comical point.
I'm not amused by it. I'm super irritated by it. I'm actually furious about it because while you and I are strong and we're not gonna cower, even when we're being threatened, even when our family members are being threatened, there are so many people in this country who do cower, who do just hang their heads, walk away, and refuse to say anything critical of what's been going on because they're afraid for their careers, they're afraid for their families. In some cases, it might be too paranoid, but even afraid for their lives. It's ridiculous. We live in America, we are Americans, we're talking about a foreign country, and we have the right to be as critical of any foreign country, including our own country, as we want. And anyone who tries to take that right away from us should be seen as the enemy. Period, end of story. Either you love this country, you believe in our Constitution, or you don't. And if you don't, I've got no interest in you. You can call me whatever you want because I don't value you as a person. Okay, I'm an American. You know, it's so crazy because I was never jingoistic. My entire life, I was never like this. I was never like, oh, I'm a big patriot. But you don't know what you have until you realize it's gone. And realizing that we don't actually live in a sovereign country, it just makes me angry and it makes me want to fight.
Yeah, so Jewish Americans have been heroic in the fight for civil rights, protecting our constitutional rights throughout American history, right? Now, when you have a couple of pro-Israel zealots pretending to speak for everyone, now they've gotten to a point that is so comical, Anna, that if you say, I'm for the First Amendment, they say anti-Semite. No, guys, no. We believe in freedom of speech. Like, by the way, an overwhelming majority, 99.9% of Jewish Americans. So this idea of like, if you don't bow your head to Israel and never criticize it, what do you mean? Of course you're allowed to criticize America. Who cares? Okay, Israel, you better not. Then okay, if you say you're against the first, like anyone who's for the First Amendment and says yes, we should be allowed to criticize Israel, is an anti-Semite, I don't think you realize you just escaped from a mental asylum, right?
Yeah.
And so these guys are totally nuts, but unfortunately they have an enormous amount of money and power, and they use it to intimidate not just all of us, but as we've covered over and over again on the show, also Jewish Americans. They go, you self-hating Jew, that's to take his rights away. What happened? I thought you cared about protecting Jewish people.
They wanted to.
No, you only care about protecting your beloved Israel, a foreign government, not Jewish people.
They had a problem with Dave Smith. Well, I don't think he's actually a practicing Jewish, doesn't practice Judaism, but he was raised Jewish. Like, they wanted to ban him from being at a Turning Point event because they don't agree with his take on Israel. Like, it's just gross. Anyway.
So if you don't ban the Jewish American, you're an anti-Semite.
It's ridiculous.
How could you not think it's comical?
We got to take a break. When we come back, I'll talk about how we're going to go to war with Venezuela because Marco Rubio has a hard-on for it. It's insane. This is humanity, bitch, and you should appreciate it.
Every day, the Young Turks delivers 2 hours of solid, fact-based, timely news and progressive commentary on all the day's most important stories. We keep our viewers informed while also providing perspective and insight on the news we cover so you understand not only what's happening, but also what's happening behind the scenes, the stories behind the stories.
We play musical chairs and put these children in one awful detention facility to the next. That's what's happening at the border.
The things that got him banned, he's still spreading. So presumably, I think it's reasonable to say that if you allow him back on the website, he's going to do it again.
Any legal voter that we deem not willing to vote for my side shouldn't vote because it'll replace me that's supposed to vote for my side. That's not how voting works. That's not how democracy works.
And while many people following today's political news can get discouraged about the direction of the nation and the world, that's not us. At TYT, we're genuinely optimistic about the future, and with good reason. Today, wide majorities of Americans agree with our progressive stances on issues ranging from healthcare and education to climate, immigration, and wages. The rising generation of young people are also overwhelmingly progressive in their political beliefs and policy objectives, and they're increasingly flexing their muscle as voters and activists to demand change from our elected officials. The traditional mainstream media is mostly AWOL. They, along with the government and many other cherished institutions, have been captured by corporate interests. Audiences sense that they're not getting the whole story or even the truth from once trusted outlets, whether broadcasting cable TV news networks or national newspapers and magazines. The antidote is the Young Turks. Unlike mainstream corporate outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, the defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to Big Pharma, and we don't carry water for the Republican or Democratic parties. So watch us Monday to Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and join the thousands of progressives around the globe who tune in every day for TYT's unmatched, award-winning content and see what it's like to experience a news organization that only answers to you.
Indisputable, exclusive. Exclusive, disputable, exclusive. We brought you this first. No other news agency has this video. No other news agency has this story.
Every week on Indisputable, we do original, exclusive, investigative reporting you'll find nowhere else.
Our reports have been viewed by millions. Hosted by Sean King, Ben Crump, Senator John Ossoff.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
We catching these cases on camera. Just imagine the things that we don't see.
Our groundbreaking investigations and exclusive interviews bring you the real voices no one else wants you to hear. We tell the stories.
Imagine a prison that is so racist, the corrections officers contact me. That is a life or death situation being created. A black woman who was driving for Uber was allegedly assaulted by a white male passenger. After we got involved, roughly 24 hours later, the police all of a sudden opened up an investigation. What was going through your mind when bullets were simply flying inside of your vehicle?
Honestly, I thought I was going to die.
Did these officers ever say that you fit the description of somebody they were looking for? Did they say that?
Never.
Okay, that means they lied.
And we want you to be part of our truth-telling movement. Send pictures and video of stories no one else is telling and a 1 or 2 paragraph summary of the story to Indisputable's exclusive tip line at indvideos@tyt.com.
If you have more information about what's happening at this particular facility, please let me know.
Together, we're challenging the system, and together, we're making a difference.
I have the entire background to this story, and it is going to make your blood boil.
Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, unveiling the truth, empowering the people. Weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific.
Have you been drinking anything today?
I hadn't drank in 3 years.
Good for you. Congratulations.
Yeah. Until today.
All right, back on TYT, Jane Canana with you guys, but also C. Tronica, Callie Millie Moe, and Pam Spees. The good Pam just joined us. Hit the join button below or tyt.com/join. By the way, 2 American heroes signed up there, which we love. That's C. Anderson Goldberg and Prophet Bruno. Love you guys. Thank you. Casper.
I have to clarify something that I said in the previous story. I did misspeak in a fit of rage. I do not want Larry Ellison anywhere near my ass. I don't want to know how he feels my ass tastes. I want him to stay away from my ass.
Okay, that's just, we're clear now on the record.
Yep.
That's a correction. We take corrections very seriously on the show.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, let's talk about war.
Are you considering attacking the cartels inside of Venezuela? You attack?
What are you going to find out?
The Trump administration is gearing up to go to war with Venezuela. And I'm not just talking about blowing up random fishing boats in the Caribbean. Apparently, there are plans to attack Venezuela on their soil. And the buildup of military assets would make that very clear. Now, why is this happening? Well, Secretary of State Marco Rubio has reportedly been extremely influential in pushing for militaristic policies against Venezuela, and in fact hopes to weaken Venezuela, which Rubio believes would be beneficial to what his agenda is, which is weakening Cuba. So Cuban-American Secretary of State Marco Rubio is obsessed with dealing with this grudge he has over the Cuban Revolution toward communism, and is going to drag the American people into a ridiculous war with Venezuela as a result. But there are other factors at play here, other financial interests at play, if you will, which I'll get to in just a minute. But Cenk, initial thoughts on this?
Yeah, why are we going to war against Venezuela? Well, good news, I have the answer. A little bit later in the story, they accidentally tell you.
So Chief Domestic Policy Advisor Stephen Miller and CIA Director John Ratcliffe also support the idea of going to war with Venezuela, which shouldn't surprise you much. But everyone in the Trump administration agrees, including Special Presidential Envoy Richard Grenell, who has been pushing Grenell has been pushing for diplomacy. He might be the only one in the Trump administration who's going in a different direction. So Grenell has tried to fashion a deal that would avoid a larger conflict and give American companies access to Venezuelan oil.
There it is, ding, 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 ding. No, they're just saying it, guys. Isn't that amazing? Like, what war are we negotiating over with Venezuela? There is no war. we're trying to start a conflict and a war, and then you say, hey, it looks like you're doing it for the oil companies, and then you go, yeah, we are.
Yep.
That's amazing. The American people, we don't care about you. Oh, we said we're anti-war? Don't care, we were lying. We'll just start this random war. Well, who are you starting it for? The oil companies. Well, it's a new day in America, at least they're saying it. I guess they think they're so powerful that you're, the fact that you don't agree, the Republican voters don't agree, Democratic voters don't agree, is totally irrelevant. No, they've already been bought by the oil companies.
So obviously Chevron has quite a bit of interest in the oil reserves that Venezuela currently has, and Venezuela has the largest oil reserves of any other country in the world. And while oil might be the goal here, I think that it would be a mistake to just assume that invading Venezuela and going to war in order to get rid of their current president and take control of their oil, it's not gonna be as easy as people think. In fact, look, I'm just an idiot. I've never dealt with foreign policy on a higher level. I've never worked for government. I've never worked on foreign policy. So why don't we actually hear from someone who knows a thing or two about foreign policy, wars, and what is likely to happen, and that's Colonel Doug McGregor, someone who holds politics that I overall disagree with, but he seems to know what he's talking about here.
I see no evidence for any clear-cut outcome other than something bad. That's the problem. And the problem comes about what happens if it doesn't work. And my experience is that people don't really have a good fallback position. What do you do? Do you put you do one of two things with Venezuela. If it doesn't work and you look stupid, you can go home and sort of call it a day and say, I made a mistake. We shouldn't have done this. I don't see much evidence that we're prepared to do that.
No, I don't either.
I think you would probably have someone that says, well, what's the Marine Corps doing this week? Let's send it, because that's what you would need. And you're only talking about Caracas. I mean, you could seize Caracas with a Marine Expeditionary Force, most of it, but it's huge. And now you want to hold on to it? And what kind of guerrilla warfare are you prepared to fight through the barrios? What about the rest of the place? What if they decide to blow up the oil wells? What do you do with that?
We've seen that happen before.
Yeah, of course. So I just don't think we've thought that through.
So I'm not entirely sure, but I think the reference to the oil wells being blown up has to do with the the Kuwaiti oil fires that happened during the Gulf War. Yep. So this was January and February of 1991, and at that point, the Iraqi forces at that point had set fire to 605 to 731 oil fields, or oil wells, I should say, Anyway, whatever. This is such a bad idea. And okay, so how many wars are we gonna fight? Because right now, as we speak, you have Israel goading the United States to go back into Iran and fight a hot war in Iran. And Trump is, Cenk is, in my opinion, a little too generous to Trump in his willingness to push back against the Israelis. I think he's getting dog walked by Israel day in and day out. I think that he'll definitely go back into Iran with enough pressure from Israel. Then you have the situation in Venezuela. Then you have the ongoing war in Ukraine. How many wars are we gonna fund, Cenk?
Yeah, no, I like how I'm now put in the position of defending Trump. No. Look, there's like 2 to 4. There's 4. There's 4 different instances. You might consider them relatively minor, where Trump did not follow Israel's orders. And it's such a low bar because every other American president follows Israel's orders 100%. So when he's only following it 96%, I'm like, whoa, what a change. But in this case, I can't understand what Trump's motivation is. I don't get it. Well, no, I do.
The Nobel Peace Prize, obviously.
Right. So look, we often talk about AIPAC, et cetera, and I say this 1,000 times, I'm gonna say it one more time. Big oil is bigger than AIPAC, big pharma is bigger than AIPAC, and big oil is a giant contributor to Donald Trump. But as Trump is, I think, somewhat genuinely trying to stop the war in Israel and in Ukraine, how is it going to help you in winning a peace prize? That apparently was a thing you were apparently obsessed with. Which, by the way, I'm so glad that he's obsessed with that. That better that than building another Trump Tower wherever, etc. But how is it going to help you to start a war with Venezuela for a bunch of oil companies?
I recall Trump having a big fundraising meeting ahead of the 2024 presidential election with oil company executives, where he made lots of big promises in return for quite a bit of campaign cash. And so maybe that's what this is part of, to be honest.
Definitely. That's of course what it's part of. But the fact that he can't see that inconsistency, the fact that he's actively trying to start like an old school coup/war in Latin America is amazing. So, okay, to your point about the oil wells, why did the Iraqis burn the oil wells? It was a disaster. They never should have done that. Environmental disaster in every way. But the reason they did it is they're like, oh, so Chevron and ExxonMobil want our oil wells. So, okay, haha, you win, but we're gonna burn them, so then you're gonna not get what you thought.
That's right. So as the US-led coalition was advancing, that's when the Iraqis were like, we're gonna burn the oil wells.
Yeah, and to be very clear about it, it wasn't their oil wells. Remember, they had invaded Kuwait, which was wrong, and we were driving them out, which wasn't such a bad thing. But as they were leaving, they were burning the Kuwaiti oil fields, not the Iraqi ones. Okay, now the general there is totally right, if I got his rank right. The problem isn't conquering Baghdad or Caracas. That's relatively straightforward. The problem is keeping it and controlling it, which then you get into guerrilla warfare. And as we saw in Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Iraq, that's impossible. So what are we doing here? Like, we haven't learned that lesson after 1,000,000 times of trying this over and over again?
The US government has learned no lessons when it comes to our failed foreign policy at all. Look at what we did to Syria.
Yeah.
We are now friends with a former Al-Qaeda leader.
But there will be no blowback from that, I'm sure, right? Just like when we funded the Taliban to attack the Soviet Union, oops. Anyways, last two war references here. In Iraq, there was not just one factor, there was a confluence of factors. Yes, Israel wanted to push us into that war. Netanyahu was part of the neocons. That was Israel's #1 enemy. But the defense contractors were gonna make a killing, literally, and so they loved it too. And then the oil companies knew that instability, twofer in that case. Once the instability begins, oil prices shoot up. They make an unbelievable amount of money. Plus, then they get contracts with their new Iraqi government once we've got them subdued, right? So we wasted all that money in Iraq and all those lives in Iraq for those three lobbies, right? And now, last one's Libya. And by the way, I was wrong on Libya and I feel terrible about it. And so, if you care about the world and you're open-minded, every once in a while you see, oh, I made a mistake there, now I'm gonna correct that mistake. So in Libya, I thought Muammar Gaddafi's a terrible dictator and there's some logic in it, etc. It turns out, of course, that had nothing to do with it. Once the war started, conveniently, and this was amazing, every country that had an oil contract with the current government of Libya at the time, Gaddafi's government, said we should not go to war. And every country that did not have an oil contract with Libya but wanted one, aggressively pushed for the war. And then after Gaddafi was deposed, you're not gonna believe which governments got the oil contracts. The ones that wanted the war. Huh, that is so strange. Yet, by the way, American media is still like, what? I don't get it. I bet they're doing it for the American people.
Anyway, the Pentagon has built up a force of more than 6,500 troops in the region. No, they're prepping for war. This is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And don't forget, during Trump's first term, there were multiple attempts to essentially install a puppet government and oust Nicolas Maduro. Remember, Juan Guaido was the guy that they were trying to install. It didn't work. And now, Trump is willing to essentially use our military, use our resources to start up a hot war on Venezuelan soil. And it's just an incredibly stupid idea. And so we'll see how this develops. It's not looking good. All right, we gotta take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about Dinesh D'Souza freaking out over Tucker Carlson allegedly ripping MAGA apart.
No, this is my favorite story of the day.
We'll be right back.
All right, So let's go to our members on TYT.com. Do not give in to fear, writes in. You hit it on the head, Anna. I feel deep shame all the time because I think I should be speaking out more against atrocities in Gaza. But I've been told by my job not to post anything too political on social media. The line seems ambiguous. I try to toe the line by posting relatively factual and neutral information, and I donate to food and aid services, but I think I should be doing more. I'm just not sure what that is. So look, when we start this new thing where we're gonna try to organize the internet, et cetera, on tomorrow's show or after tomorrow's show, I'll give you guys some concrete things that you could do, but you're a regular citizen. You're not wrong to be concerned. So we read you that email on last week's show, where now what looks like Israeli AI bots are sending emails to employers for anyone who even shows sympathy for Palestinians. If you put up a Palestinian flag, that's it, on social media, they try to get you fired as an anti-Semite. So they're really sick people out there. They're thugs. Yeah.
They're thugs. Call them what they are. They're thugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and so I know why you're concerned, and it's our job to fight that fight. And I've gone to a number of Karen events at ArabCon recently, and the people there were just so wonderful. And the number one thing they said is, thank you for being our voice, because we're so worried about speaking out. If we do, we're gonna get called terrorists and anti-Semites, and we're gonna lose our jobs, and God knows what else is gonna happen, right? So the people now live in fear. And this email that I read had nothing to do with Arab Americans or Muslim Americans. It was an average American that they were targeting for showing support for Palestinians. So, and yet again, American media says, no, if you even talk about that, you're a bigot and you're hateful and you should be fired. Well, then American media is part of the thuggery. They're part and parcel of the thuggery. They say, no, anyone who criticizes Israel, and then you're like, well, it seems like you're weirdly biased in favor of Israel. And they're like, that's it, you're even more of an anti-Semite. No, guys, it's like an anti-Semite accusation assembly line. No matter what happens. You know what, my pasta was a little cold. Anti-Semite, what? This is insanity. So anyway, we'll do it together, we'll get past it together. Mariachi Dragon says, so on a lighter note, I finally watched the clip from ArabCon with the food fight between Bassem and Mehdi. Cenk, where are you on that? You were so quiet, no defense of Turkish food? That was fantastic.
Wait, what's this?
So there was actually this little wonderful moment at ArabCon where Mehdi Hassan was interviewing Bassem Youssef for Zeteo. And then in the middle of the interview, Bassem Youssef just pointed to me in the audience and said, and there's Cenk Uygur from the Young Turks, and he's awesome, right? And I was like, wow, thank you. And then Mehdi said, yeah, he's the godfather of independent media, right? Which is really nice. Then they got into a literal food fight about whether Arab food was better or Indian food was better. Okay, and that's the clip.
I'm gonna stay quiet about that.
Okay, so look, guys, what difference does it make? It's all Turkish food. Okay.
Wait, Arab food or Indian food? They're totally different.
Yeah, but even Indian food, because the Turks conquered northern India, has things that are very similar to burek.
Okay, everyone's food has been influenced by everyone else, okay?
That's it, that's the bottom line.
That is the bottom line.
Who cares?
Yeah.
All right, we'll be back. Back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. I'm going to read one member comment from TYT.com. Rob3 Chatsworth said, I give a lot of credit to Abby Phillip for continuing to have Anna on, respecting her perspective and allowing her voice to ring out.
I have a huge girl crush on Abby Phillip. She's freaking awesome.
Yeah, no, I
she
read
really is. And it's not just because she's having me on. I got to know what she's like in real life, and she's brilliant, she's open-minded, she's very warm and personable. I love to sing her praises because she deserves it. So
yeah, no, I've been watching now because you're on, and she has a good command of the show, and she has excellent command of the materials, and she's open-minded. So what else do you want? I mean, instantly, I think #1 cable news host.
I think so too, to be honest.
So thanks for writing in about that, and I love that you guys are checking out Anna when she's on there. All right, by the way, guys, remember, members, keep voting on tyt.com. You basically kind of already at like 3/4 yes, so I'm saying we're gonna do it. But I want to hear your voice on whether we should open up the bonus episode, because those are for members only. And so we're having a members only poll on tyt.com. Should we open it up to the public and try to unite people and kind of organize the internet to regain democracy and do some good in the world? So anyway, check out the poll on tyt.com if you're a member. Much love. All right.
Let's get to our next story.
Bibi's running around, this is a fact, I'm not guessing about this, because I talked to people he said it to, is running around the Middle East, his region, and his own country, and telling people point blank, just stating it, I control the United States, I control Donald Trump. He's saying that, and I dare them to say that's not true. Bibi, not the nation of Israel, not Israelis, and certainly not Jews, whatever that means, the leader, the secular prime minister of a country is doing immense harm to Donald Trump's presidency, to the United States, and to the world. This is an unbalanced person whose only real concern is for himself. He's meddling in an extensive way in American politics. He's loathed by the entire world.
Dinesh D'Souza, a convicted felon, is accusing Tucker Carlson of ripping the MAGA movement apart for having the audacity to criticize a foreign leader, Benjamin Netanyahu. D'Souza aired his grievances on X, writing, "The problem with Tucker is not that he's bad for Israel. He's bad for Trump and MAGA. He's trying to rip MAGA apart ideologically and generationally. I don't know his motives, but who can be blind to the effects of his actions? And who benefits? The left, the Islamic jihadis."
So this guy's a crack up. By the way, this is now all over the place, and we'll show you Eric Erickson and so many others. So Mediaite has like 2 articles a day. Oh, the real right wingers hate Tucker Carlson and love Israel. Do they? And every accusation is a confession. Dinesh D'Souza and so many of these other guys, I don't know particulars on Dinesh, okay? But I do know overall, and we see it with now the revealed text from Charlie Kirk, that there are tons of donors who are pro-Israel. They donate to right-wing hosts to make sure they are pro-Israel. So all of those guys all of a sudden coming out and going, oh, if you want to be MAGA, you have to kiss Netanyahu's ass. And if you don't like Tucker Carlson, you're ripping us apart and you're not real MAGA. Yeah, good luck with that.
Netanyahu is a notorious war criminal who is currently wanted by the International Criminal Court. The idea that the American conservative movement needs to be loyal to a disgusting man who has carried out unspeakable atrocities is laughable to me and is not a good look for American conservatives. But at the end of the day, we're talking about Dinesh D'Souza, again, a convicted felon. Let me give you more of what he had to say, including his attempt to essentially redefine what America first means. America first, he writes. My point is not that Tucker is a paid shill.
It kind of sounded like that though.
I have never said it because I have no idea if it's true.
He just assumes it because he's a paid shill. My guess.
My point is that when you routinely bash our ally Israel, you help the double-dealing Qataris and the Iranian mullahs and radical jihadis everywhere. Let me just be clear about something. I'm seeing more and more idiotic Americans essentially regurgitate propaganda from the Israeli government in regard to Qatar. Qatar happens to be our ally. We have a military base in their country, okay? These morons beating the war drums against an actual ally of ours is laughable. Well, by the way, they sing the praises of Israel as being our special ally when Israel has done nothing but get the United States into all sorts of trouble. Israel is a welfare state funded by the American taxpayer.
Yeah, so Anna, I actually don't think there's this, like, I'm not sure there's a single actual human being who says those things. I think almost everyone who says those things are paid shills. Like, I've never seen anyone say Qatari Carlson who, if you look at their timeline, isn't massively pro-Israel.
Catarlson, get it right.
Oh, whatever they're calling him, right? So that's why this whole thing's comical. It's a bunch of people up top trying to browbeat actual MAGA voters who totally agree with Tucker Carlson.
Yeah.
Right? And so, I mean, look at that tweet.
How about this, Dinesh D'Souza? How about this, for once? And it doesn't have to be Dinesh D'Souza, just any conservative who's like trying to rain hell on Tucker Carlson for actually making substantive points that are accurate and based in reality. How about you actually, instead of attacking him as a person, how about you actually attack his arguments with substance? Do you have a substantive argument? Oh, you don't. You don't have a substantive argument. So how about you shut the F up? Okay, because I'm not interested in hearing about your smears. I'm interested to see if there's an actual debate here. And if there isn't an actual substantive debate, if you're unable to push back against Tucker Carlson with a sound, cogent argument, well then you're the shill. And what's so disgusting about it is you're a shill for a foreign country.
Yeah, I mean, there's such great ironies there because that tweet was talking about America first, and he basically concludes America first is Israel first. No, by definition it isn't. Yeah. So when you say that, you sound like an ass. And then he says, now it is very bigoted to criticize Israel. Instead, you have to criticize Qatar and Iran. Wait, why is that not bigoted? Okay, put Iran aside. Qatar is a top ally with a giant military base of ours there. So why is that not bigoted? No, shut up. You're all anti-Semites, okay? Okay, then if you criticize Qatar, are you anti-Muslim? Of course not, don't be ridiculous. Why?
What the hell did Qatar do? Like, why are we suddenly demonizing Qatar?
Oh, of course, everybody knows. Nowadays, now everybody knows. It's because if you're an enemy of Israel for any reason, that's it. There's gonna be dozens of pundits and politicians in America who will come out, hundreds if you put them all together, and tell you, oh, you have to hate Qatar, you have to hate them, you have to hate them. But they're our biggest base. Why do I have to hate them? Okay, guys, the other day, Turkey closed off the airspace to Israel and said we're not dealing with them economically anymore.
Good.
Immediately in mainstream media, there was like 3-4 articles about Turkey, actually Muslim Brotherhood, terrorists. There's a Republican we covered on the show, I think he was in South Dakota or somewhere, in a town hall. They're reconstituting the Ottoman Empire. Erdogan's Muslim. I mean, that propaganda is so quick, so thorough. It's all over the country. So before, by the way, Turkey not an enemy of Israel. Turkey's fine, Turkey's great, Turkey's an ally, Turkey's in NATO. The minute they defy Israel, Turkey's terrible, terrorist, etc. Come on.
If you don't have a substantive rebuttal against what Tucker Carlson is saying in regard to the nation state of Israel, I'm not interested in hearing anything you have to say. The idea that Tucker Carlson is ripping the conservative movement apart is laughable to me. Like, by the way, Dinesh D'Souza, how important do you think you are to the conservative movement? How many young conservatives are like at the edge of their seats waiting for your next tweet where you're literally like, anyway.
No one.
It's ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous. Okay, so look, I don't know if I really want to get into this, but recently Benjamin Netanyahu went on Dinesh D'Souza's show. I guess Dinesh D'Souza has a show of some sort. And the topic of Netanyahu's bloodline came up. Now, let me just set up the context before we go to this clip. An argument that Tucker Carlson accurately makes is that the Israelites referenced in the Bible are not the same as modern day Israel, right? Or the government of Israel. That's the argument that he makes. And so that topic came up as Dinesh D'Souza was speaking to Benjamin Netanyahu, and Netanyahu wanted to make the case that like, oh no, I come from, that's my heritage, Israelites. Okay, let's take a look.
In a recent exchange between Tucker Carlson and Senator Ted Cruz, Tucker Carlson said, are you saying that the Jews in Israel under Netanyahu are the descendants of the ancient Israelites who are described in the Bible?
Of course, there's no question about it. The Jews spread from this land to various parts of Europe, to the Middle East and elsewhere. But we never forgot this land. We said next year in Jerusalem, next year in Jerusalem. My great-grandfather came here in the 19th century. Most of the Palestinians who are alive today came after him. So that's what our history has been.
Oh, okay, then I guess you can engage in genocide and kill, hundreds of thousands of innocent people in order to claim that you own that land. I don't believe him, but aside from that, I don't care.
Yeah, so I don't care where anybody's from. I find that, since I'm not a religious person, I find this idea that that God promised it to you 3,000 years ago. Okay, he promised it to me. How are we going to debate it, right? I just find the whole thing insane and absurd. But to give you a sense of where Netanyahu is actually from, his real name is Benjamin Milikowski. He's Polish.
Why did he change it? That's weird.
It is weird, isn't it, right? So they're like, no. And tons of Israelis have changed their name to, and they could say ethnic pride, right? And maybe that's a fair thing. But the other possibility is that they're like, well, we don't want to seem like European colonizers, so instead we'll pretend that we've been here the whole time. But brother, have you been there the whole time? No. When Israel was created, only 6% of that land was Jewish, the citizens, right? The people that lived there, 6%. The rest immigrated largely from Europe and all parts of the different world, and it's okay. I mean, I don't want to go back to debating the creation of Israel, but don't tell me that your family's been there all this time, because they haven't. They've been in Poland. So, okay, I want to go to Eric Erickson, okay? So he's part of this now, and everybody's got to pile on Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and pretend they're not real right-wingers and all that stuff. So he writes, I forget who first pointed this out, but it is important. As Candace Owens, Tucker, et cetera, spread their Jews control everything propaganda on the right, it isn't really Qatar that benefits, but China.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
The Chinese have stirred the anti-Semitic pot.
We should go to war with them.
Adjusted the TikTok algorithm to amplify anti-Semitism, et cetera. All the people on the right suddenly blaming the Jews are not looking at China, and the voices spreading the propaganda are silent on China and its influence operations. So let me get this right, Eric. Don't hate the Jews, hate the Chinese. And you don't notice that?
Eric, look, I know Eric isn't stupid, because he's been one of the people on the right who has pushed back on members of his own, political group when they're being unhinged, quite frankly. So I want to be polite in saying that was stupid, Eric. That was really stupid. Our obsession with carrying out anything and everything Israel, not the Jews, Israel wants, has made us less competitive in this, ongoing tiff with China.
Mitt Romney said on tape.
What are we doing?
Yeah, said on tape, it's not about China, it's about Israel. That's why they're trying to stop TikTok. And then Larry Ellison, the biggest donor to IDF, is buying TikTok. And then Netanyahu said, we're buying TikTok on behalf of Israel. So this is all on tape. That's a paraphrase of Netanyahu's, but we showed you the tape multiple times. There's no question that he's like, now we have the influence on TikTok. So the idea that this is some sort of conspiracy theory, well, then you should tell Netanyahu and Ellison and all the other guys who are admitting it, and Mitt Romney admitting it all over the place. And guys, this whole idea that the Chinese are anti-Semitic, and that's why they're trying to get us to hate Israel, it's so preposterous. Of course, that accusation is a confession. The Israelis are trying to get us to hate the Chinese so that it diverts our attention. Stop looking at Israel. Did we give $310 billion to China or Israel? Did we start the Iraq war because Iraq was the #1 enemy of China or Israel? Did we fund a genocide for China or Israel? Oh, right, every time it's Israel, right? But they're like, don't look, China, Qatar, you blame someone else. Oh, you guys are bigots against Israel. Oh, you should be bigots against China. You should be bigots against Qatar. And that was deeply, deeply ironic. No, we see you guys now. Sad day for you, the internet exists. So you keep talking your nonsense, but everyone who's out there going rah, Israel, you're all anti-Semites. Right-winger, anti-Semite, racist, bigot. Keep accusing your own voters of being bigots and see how it turns out for you.
Keep spitting fire, Tucker. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back.
This was my ass.
All right, so let's go to Super Chat. History Speaks says the indigenous narrative needs to be critiqued because it's used to justify more land theft under the guise of Judea and Samaria. Bibi cannot point to a single ancestor he had in the Middle East before Zionist colonization. By the way, Anna, contact Heba. I don't know what that means, but okay. So yeah, that's definitely true. Look, guys, Zionism is not about Judaism. So I used to think that the Orthodox Jews that were against Israel were like kind of kooky, right? Then I started listening to them. I'm like, wait a minute. They actually make a really good point. They're like, look, if Zionism about nationalism always corrupts religion. And because governments do bad things, nationalism is usually a bad idea. We know because we went through the guys who called themselves National Socialists and who were all nationalists in Germany. So we don't want nationalism, it'll corrupt Judaism. Oh my God, they were stunningly correct, right? So, and now a lot of rabbis and Jewish leaders are going, they're not speaking out against Israel, but what they are doing is saying, don't conflate the two. Terrible idea to conflate the two. And every Israeli advocate is doing it on purpose. Even if they know, no, this might really hurt Jews across the world. They're like, who cares? No, our nationalism is more important. Well, there you go. I mean, that's exactly what they were warning about. Callie Millimo says US is world's largest oil producer, but there are signs that we are at peak shale and most basins are 80% tapped out. We will need oil since Trump rolled green energy. Venezuela oil to replace US shale oil. Yeah, so.
It's over, there's no future.
Yeah.
Okay, let's stop playing games.
Yeah.
Let's stop pretending.
All right.
Okay, the world is run by a bunch of self-interested, greedy pricks who have no interest in solving it. Trump is 80 years old. He's gonna be dead soon. You think he gives a damn? He doesn't give a damn. He doesn't give a damn. Okay, doesn't give a damn about his own kids, doesn't give a damn about the future of this country, doesn't give a damn about the future of this world. Okay, greedy scum, that's what we're dealing with.
Christina Elisa Brown in the YouTube member section says, Anna looks gorgeous. Her sweater is so worthy of my free super chat.
How about no more 80-year-olds running the country? How about that?
I can't even read the compliments. She's still on a warpath, okay? Anna is such a baddie. Baddies love Anna K. Shine bright, Anna. So proud of you and me. I almost cried, she said. She'll then wrote back in, probably on one of your rants and etc.
Don't cry.
No, well, it could be good. Anyway, she then wrote back in and said, Cenk looks great, always handsome. Got to give the guy his props. Now that's a comment I can get behind. All right, no, thank you, we appreciate it. Fiascoism wrote in on Twitch, thank you, Anna. I'm so tired of liberal Democrat voters defending the ACA. It's always meant to be incrementalist stepping stone that liberals always say their centrist views are all about. They're not even defending a good healthcare system. It's blind support for Obama's legacy.
Yes, that's true, I agree.
Yep, so CDN Norse Dog Dad says, Anna, that nice old school vintage dress looks awesome on you. So lots of love out there. All right, we'll be back.
Get myself in a little trouble.
All right, back on TYT, Cenk. Anna, Ryan9797 signed up through tyt.com/join. We love that. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it. And then look at all these beautiful folks. Fat Satter and Lady AF gifted 10 memberships apiece as they want to do. They do that quite often. And Buck sent in a gifted membership as well. You guys are awesome. We're going to have Operation Joy for all of our members. That's tonight in about 10 minutes. If you have never seen an Operation Joy, you're going to love it. So great time to join. Casper.
All right, let's talk about masculinity. I think Democrats need to stop talking about masculinity. Period, end of story. Considering how poorly they're performing with men, making fun of masculinity, calling men weak. Like, there are substantive things to actually attack members of the Republican Party on. Hitting them on the masculinity point, I think, is a really bad move. And honestly, it turns me off personally. Well, that was my reaction to some of Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's comments on masculinity recently. Now, The representative was making a point about how we should respond to the Trump administration. And her argument is that we're dealing with a bunch of insecure men. I don't know if that's the right way to go about it, which is why I made this argument on CNN just last night. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Let's go to AOC's comments.
The last thing they want you to do is laugh at them. The last thing they want you to do is make fun of them, because that diminishes them far more than them trying to stick a boot in your face. The fact of the matter is like, these people are, yes, tremendously dangerous, but a lot of them are tremendously dull. People talk about toxic masculinity more than, it's like, let's put that to the side for just 1 second. This is about insecure masculinity. And one of the best ways that you can dismantle a movement of insecure men is by making fun of them.
All right,
yeah,
great imagination there.
Yeah, that's a disaster, okay? So she said, last thing they want you to do is for you to laugh at them. Yeah, that's right. So now, after you laugh at them, what do you think their chances of voting for you are? 0. Okay, so world's worst political strategy. And if you say, hey, Cenk, she's talking about extreme right wingers and that are attacking our communities, I get it, guys. But do you think that everyone gets it? Or do men hear that and go, oh, she's making fun of me? Especially when she keeps talking about insecure men, insecure men. Guys, what are you doing? You're driving away voters by the millions.
I'm gonna point out something very specific that she said that immediately turned me against this argument that she was making, because she pointed to, look, I can't stand Stephen Miller. I think he's one of the most nefarious figures in the Trump administration. She was making fun of his height. And it's like, okay, but AOC, do you not understand that when you make fun of his height,
yes,
all the men in the country think about their own height and how you're mocking them if they're the same height as Stephen Miller? It's the same thing that women feel when, let's say, they're in the office and a group of their male co-workers are talking about a woman who they find unattractive or attractive, whatever. It makes you start thinking about how they perceive you as a woman, how they perceive your physical appearance as a woman. Like, you've got to be smarter than this. What is this? This is your big plan to fight back against the Trump administration? This is your big imaginative plan?
Yeah, here, let's show that because it's super uncomfortable. And then I want to talk about why this is another epic disaster.
Laugh at them. Stephen Miller is a clown. I've never seen that guy in real life, but he looks like he's like 4'10". And he looks like he is angry about the fact that he's 4'10". And he looks like he is so mad that he is 4'10", that he's taking that anger out at any other population possible.
Yeah, no, every short guy is gonna take that as a direct affront to them. So there goes more millions of votes.
Don't take it personal, short kings.
Okay, see, then she made this super awkward video about short kings.
Wait, she did?
She did.
Oh no.
It was.
I didn't see that.
Yes, and she's like, no, I don't mean short kings. First of all, even you said it, but I wouldn't say short king.
No, short king is an actual thing. It's not meant to poke fun at them.
I know, but it sounds awkward. It's like if you told me, don't take offense, fat king. No, just no, please. Okay, I'm begging you. Okay, so anyways, and she's like, no, I didn't mean like short in stature, but if like intellectually, then if you're bad at policy or something or intellect, then you look like you're 4'10". But again, you're emphasizing this short is bad. And she's like, oh, if you support women, then you're 6'3". But then, okay, 6'3" is good. Oh, please stop. Guys, Stephen Miller is a terrible guy. You can call him a terrible guy. Clown, I got no problem with. Definitely a clown, right? He's a hateful guy who's driving terrible policy that the great majority of Americans disagree with.
No, I don't don't want to laugh at him, okay? I don't want to laugh at him. Sorry to interrupt you. I don't want to laugh at what's going on right now. I don't want to laugh at the idea that there are literal freaking children who are being detained in freaking zip ties because ICE wants to do a raid to get a couple of alleged criminals out of that apartment building. Why are we terrorizing the entirety of that apartment building in order to do a raid on a couple of people that ICE is looking to detain? Like, that doesn't, I don't want to laugh at that. I get what she's trying to say. They want to get under your skin. Don't let them get under your skin. But I'm sorry, injustice and terrorizing fellow Americans gets under my skin. What is your solution to that, AOC? When you're not busy thinking about running for higher office, what are your solutions? What is your, what are you going to offer up that Americans are going to find more appealing than what the other side is offering up?
Yeah.
More money, more military funding for Israel, which you seem to continuously vote in favor of.
Yeah, so look guys, Stephen Miller is driving that policy. So if you say, I can't stand Stephen Miller, I agree with you 100%, right? But you have to, this is elementary politics. You have to isolate Stephen Miller and not associate him with all other men. Then it seems like you're attacking men and driving them towards Stephen Miller instead of away from Stephen Miller. But no, what you're gonna get is a lot of people going, oh yeah, toxic masculinity, oh yeah, insecure men, ha 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 ha, let's make fun of men. Oh God, please stop doing damage. No, we have to unite the country against the vicious policies that Stephen Miller is advocating for. And by the way, good news, those policies are really unpopular.
They are unpopular, yes.
Right, so lean into how unpopular they are instead of trying to make them more popular by attacking men. Even if you're not doing it on purpose, the optics of it feels like you're attacking men. Are there men who are insecure? Of course. By the way, are there women who are insecure? Of course. So if Republicans went and said, let's put aside toxic chicks for a second, okay? But let's talk about insecure women and what a problem they are. People would be like, what, that's the craziest thing I've ever seen. That's terrible, don't do that, right? When you do it about men, it is actually just as bad. I know that's a revolutionary thought, but men are also humans, they're also Americans, they're also voters. So please stop driving them away from us. It's a disastrous idea.
Well, Democrats are a disaster, period. Anyway, that's the show for you today.
Operation Joy is next, where we lift everyone's spirits. You think we can't do it? Join and find out. We'll see you there.